American healthcare is one of the most scrutinized systems in the nation, with many people having wildly differing opinions about it. However, one thing that we can all agree on is that it is very complicated. Private insurance, employee-sponsored insurance, Medicaid, Medicare, aren't those the same thing? No, it's not. And that's why it's important to explore this topic under the lens of Minecraft. Wait, but why Minecraft? I don't know. You guys are here for a reason, so let's explore American healthcare through Minecraft. I hope you enjoy. To start, American healthcare is split into two main categories: public and private healthcare. Now, although many countries have a mixed system of healthcare like this, America is unique in that the majority of the citizens in the country must rely on private healthcare separate from the government. Well, what even is private healthcare? To illustrate it better, let's look at a man named Mr. Villager looking for healthcare. Say that he doesn't qualify for any of the public government-run options, so he has to rely on private healthcare. From here, he has two options: employee-sponsored insurance or individual insurance. To start, let's look at individual insurance. This is the classic model. Mr. Villager will approach an insurance company, let's say it's called Menders Insured, and he will buy a health insurance plan. He pays a certain amount of emeralds every month to Menders Insured, and in return, they will cover the cost of any hospital visits that Mr. Villager has, such as if he gets in a bad injury. If you want to know more about insurance specifically, you should watch my Insurance Explained video. That will kind of go into it further. Anyways, the main upside to this model is that Mr. Villager can choose any insurance to his liking, and can drop or change it at any point. However, the biggest downside of this option is the cost. Mr. Villager is responsible for paying the entire cost or premium of the insurance, and that can get quite expensive. So instead, he can look to the second option: employee-sponsored insurance. Mr. Villager decides to get a job at Explosion Inc. And one of the employee benefits of working there is that he receives employee-sponsored insurance. This means that Mr. Villager can choose from a catalog of healthcare options provided by Explosion Inc. Let's say that Mr. Villager chooses a plan under Leaf Health. From here, Explosion Inc. will cover an often big portion of the emerald cost that Mr. Villager would have had to pay, letting Mr. Villager have a cheaper plan. This is the most popular option in the US, and it's not hard to see why. The cost of insurance is much cheaper with the same benefits. However, the options that Mr. Villager has is restricted by the catalog that Explosion Inc. provides. The other downside is that Mr. Villager's insurance is now tied to employment at Explosion Inc. This is a huge reason as to why companies even do this in the first place. Not only does having this employee benefit attract potential hires, but it also makes sure that employees are kept in line and stay in the company. If Mr. Villager gets fired or leaves his job, he doesn't just lose his job, he also loses his health insurance. So now that we've covered the private half of the system, let's look at the public side of the coin. Under public healthcare, there are many different options, but the difference is that you have to qualify for these ones. If someone doesn't qualify for any of them, they must use private insurances like the options before. Now for today, we'll cover two of the biggest ones: Medicaid and Medicare. Medicaid is the public health insurance given to low-income individuals or families. It also includes people with disabilities. If Mr. Villager were to qualify for Medicaid, he would have a majority or all the costs covered by Medicaid. Now, this insurance coverage is also very broad and includes a lot of benefits, which is a big plus by Medicaid. However, two big downsides to this are the state-to-state differences, which means that Mr. Villager, depending on which state he lives in, could or could not qualify for Medicaid, posing a pretty big risk if he moves out of state. The other downside is the provider options. Medicaid is known for having low reimbursement rates for health companies. This means that the very providers like Menders Insured are less likely to give care to Medicaid patients because they know the cost may not be worth it. Private insurance companies are for profit after all. Now the next one is Medicare, which sounds super similar, so don't get confused. This health insurance is for anyone over the age of 65, as well as some younger people with disabilities or anyone with ESRD. However, the majority of people in Medicare are usually there because they're over 65. Medicare works a bit differently, as there are 4 different parts that cover different services, and different health plans may exclude some parts. For example, if Mr. Villager had a prescription drug, he would need to choose a plan that included Part D, which covers those. However, whatever plan he chooses would come down to his current health condition, which is especially important due to his age. The main upsides of Medicare is the cost. You are guaranteed to pay less with healthcare, which is critical at this time where most people retire. However, similar to Medicaid, the providers may be limited, especially when you move up the levels and need more specific care. Now, the second drawback comes as a product of having multiple different parts under the program, which is Medicare's complexity. Knowing which plan does what and which ones provide the correct benefits, all while making sure that you're not paying way too much for insurance, can be one extreme headache. But you know, what's not complicated in this world anyways? Now, Medicaid and Medicare are not the only public healthcare options out there. Coverage for veterans and children under 19 are a few examples. However, about 65% of the US population relies on private health insurance, so it is the norm to have private health insurance over public. And that's about all I have. I am back, now relocated to the college dorm. However, the script is still written before my move-in, so editing me, can you give an opinion on college so far on the screen? Okay, whatever I just said, but yeah. Anyways, if you're watching this, I've probably established a baseline routine and we're most likely back in business. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. Best of luck with your studies, and bye bye.